Thanks for sitting through a fairly long presentation, so I'm going to wrap this up very, very quickly. Uh, these are some of the questions that we faced in the past, so I just thought that I'll take this opportunity to clarify some of these questions that keep getting asked to me about our business. So you would have got a flavor of the business from the horse's mouth, the people who run the business, and not from the CEO and the CFO. So you'll get an opportunity to interact with them on a Q&A session as well as on cocktails. So IT versus BPM, it's a question that gets asked so frequently. That's because there are so few of us. There are only a couple of us listed in the India market. So there is an analyst. The way analysts look at this are the drivers the same? And my only comment there is that the IT spend is really a capex spend, whereas what we do affects the OPEX savings of companies. So it's fundamentally different in terms of how we impact our clients. And IT spend is a discretionary spend, whereas the spend that they do on us have core business margin impact for them. We don't carry any bench. The training period for our people are only about 3 to 4 weeks, and there is no visa issues because we don't ship people onshore to do projects. And we have no project-based revenues. All our revenues are long-term based annuity contracts. Voice versus non-voice, that's also asked. People are asked questions, ask me questions as to are we working on improving our voice versus non-voice ratio. What I wanted to tell you out here is that voice continues to offer the largest scale available. And if you pick and choose the right kind of business, there is good margin in voice. There's good margin even in onshore voice. So therefore, it's not a question of whether we do voice or non-voice and what's more and what's less. It's what kind of business that you pick up. So we do almost no outbound telesales. We almost do no outbound collections. And that's why we've been able to retain the kind of margins that we have in our business. And non-voice capabilities are also on, we are developing more non-voice capabilities as we speak, because we talked about the fact that demographics are changing. And when I talk about increasing the non-voice business, if you were to look at pure non-voice business, the B2B business, let me tell you that it is not as scalable as voice is. So if you were to concentrate only on that market, our rate of growth will be in single digits, because that's the rate of growth of that kind of a market. People have talked about KPO, BPO. You would have got a flavor of what we do. I don't want to go to the definition of a KPO because I think that's old wine in a new bottle. It's at the end of the day what work being done, what's the complexity of that work, and therefore how sticky is the client and what to go. So the fact that we don't own platform doesn't affect our business at all. Wanted to go back because some of you have probably not been tracking us for a long time. Some of you probably have heard of us in the recent past. I wanted to give you the numbers that we had up to 2009 and 2010. So I've given you quarterly growth numbers from quarter 2 FY8 to quarter 2 FY10. You would see consistent growth up there. So we were doing about 218 crores, 221 crores as we closed to 10. Our EBITDA was 42 crores, 41 crores, again constantly growing. PAT was the only quarter where we had some kind of an issue was quarter 2 on FY9, where there was an accounting policy change. We had to book mark-to-market losses for our exchange contracts, and that went through the P&L. We've now changed the accounting policy. We adopted AS 30, and therefore that allows us to book it into the foreign exchange revaluation reserve. Earlier we did not have that. So that was really the picture 2009 to 2010. Obviously, from those heydays of high margins, people have been concerned. People have talked to us, what's happening to your business? Why are the margins gone down? You have to understand, and I'll give you the perspective. Look at how the business has grown. FY11, we were about 1,000 crore company. FY13, we closed at about 2,000. In 2 years, we doubled the company. This is the last graph is only the half year. So if you look at the half year trend to continue, will end with somewhere around 2,400 approximately. So the growth has been phenomenal, and people have asked, okay, you've acquired companies onshore, those acquisitions have not gone well, and you're struggling with those acquisitions, and that's what's reflected in your margins dipping. And therefore, you've done the wrong thing, and you're paying the price for that. Well, here is what we have to offer as explanations of what happened in the last 2 years. Ramesh talked about the vagaries of the India telecom market. We had huge exposure to India telecom, and that affected us really badly. So the India telecom business is something that we have exited almost. We have just about 2 clients now. All other clients we have exited from because that was just not the right business to be in. Also, we had a timing difference. We had about 1,000 seats in Philippines that we had built way ahead of demand. It took us about 2 years to fill those seats. And the reason that the margins have improved actually is because the 1,000 seats have got filled up and the utilization is peaking. So there was rent, depreciation, all of that showing up in our books. So that also is a factor. You would also recall that STPI benefits went out in 2010. That had about a 20 crore impact from the 130 crore PAT that we reported long time back. So that straight took away about 20 crores the next year. What we also did was to invest for growth. Doubling the company in 2 years sounds like a fairy tale. That can't be done if you don't invest in growth. So we invested in leadership. We brought in a lot of people who would help us to build a solid company that could absorb the growth that we wanted to take it through. We invested in sales, very high-powered sales. We've got, as I said, I believe that we've got one of the best sales teams in the industry. What also happened is you realize that the way we have done onshore is we've invested onshore to feed into offshore markets. Now, the acquisitions that we have done in UK and Canada in 2010 and 2011 have just been seeded with offshore. So it will take time for the offshore pipeline to grow. And as a result of which, when you do the margin is a weighted average of margins of what we have onshore and what we have offshore. At our peak profitability, our offshore was 39%. You saw that number, Pala showed you that number. It went down to 30 and we brought it back to 33. So we would like to bring it back to about the 35, 36, 37. And as that ratio improves, the margins will improve. So that will take its time to build. And that's also reflected in the fact that, with Canada and UK coming in, the margin in percentage terms is showing the impact of that. But it's not something that we're wrong with it. You've seen the story, you've heard how it's going to improve going forward. And investments in digital innovation, that's the thing of the future. So we put in some investments there. So the thing about SG&A costs those are step costs. You reach a point where SG&A is completely absorbed. And after that point, if you don't invest in SG&A, then you can't grow. So at 2010, we had reached the point we needed to invest in SG&A, and that's planning it over the next 3 years, and that's why we are at a point where the SG&A is very well absorbed. And the lessons learned have been we've exited more or less exited from acquiring new business in India in the India domestic space. We have some clients. Our total top line has come down from 160 crores to about 130 crores. We've rationalized headcount, let go of a lot of client contracts which were unprofitable. So that's been a big learning. And now we don't add up capacity so much ahead of time. It takes about 90 to 120 days to add capacity. So we wait for the order book to fill up before we add capacity. So these are some of the learnings that's resulted in the margin improvement that you are seeing. Quick comparison with some of our peer group, you would see that net sales growth, we probably are top of the charts. EBITDA, PBT, PAT, across our peer group, you will see that we are somewhere pretty much, the rate of improvement is what you should look at, not the absolute number where we are. I think we have a very good story out here insofar as the improvement of these financial ratios are concerned. Next page shows you the same in ROC terms. This is pure ROC, enterprise ROC. I'm not excluding cash, I'm not excluding treasury. This is the way the enterprise ROC looks. Here also the numbers are reasonably good. And I think this is where the opportunity is. If you look at the way the business is valued, you should take a call as to how this timing is and what this business has to offer. We have given you an opportunity to interact with the whole leadership team. In the quarterly calls, it's just me and Pala. Hopefully this has given you a longer session, has given you a better flavor of the business. You have a better appreciation of what we are trying to do. And now that's my last slide, and we would like to thank all of you for having patiently heard all of us, and I would open up the session for Q&A.